Islam, peace and hotep. We have Canaanland Moors class 28th of December. So as we know, time is ticking fast right now. We just get the honors up. Face the east, 5 on the left, 4 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
And my salvation.
By night.
By night.
And by day.
And by day.
His holy prophet.
Prophet.
And over to Ali. Islam. Islam. Today, we're going to be discussing the re-education of the unconscious Moor by looking at Brother Carter G Woodson's Miseducation of the Negro from a Moorish perspective, because he dropped some jewels in there that we can use to assist in us getting this work done that we're supposed to do to help Noble Drew Ali in getting our people to come out of the darkness. Before we do that, since also too what we've been doing the past few days, we've been bringing up this Kwanzaa FBI celebration and hitting some pointers so that people could, stop playing around, playing this game that they're conscious and they know their self, but they're following some FBI COINTELPRO celebration. Today's third day of Kwanzaa, so it's supposed to be on Jima today, collective work and responsibility. Right now, it's interesting that the people have become so domesticated, so pacified that they don't even follow their own stuff. Right? You have today being responsibility, but none of them are taking responsibility to have a nationality. Right? They're not taking the position of recognizing that if you're standing by these 7 principles, this celebration, this whatever they want to call it, right? And one of the components is responsibility. But you're sitting there with a slave master name, talking about light candles and all that stuff and saying that you're African again. That's a fiction.
Calling yourself
Calling whatever you call yourself, right? And not taking responsibility for the fact that we're in error, right? Some other things that I was researching, because I never really, took this Kwanzaa thing as, I just looked at it as Black Christmas. As soon as I heard about it, that's what I looked at it as, and it's never been something that vibrated with me as something to be involved in, study or whatever like that. But just because people are, and then I found out about the Karenga thing and FBI and all that stuff, and definitely not following no Kwanzaa now, right? But they have this thing, so they have Kwanzaa, right? And Kwanzaa comes from Swahili, right? Which is East Africa. Okay? East Africa doesn't have nothing to do with slave trade, right? But they're gonna play stupid, right? So they're gonna play that, right? Kwanzaa comes from some Swahili word, whatever, Kwanzaa, which means first of the harvest, right? The first of the harvest isn't in December. If you're so-called, planter and whatever, you're not harvesting nothing in December. December is not the time that you're harvesting anything. So this FBI agent or whatever, right, makes up some stuff for these people to come follow, and they're following this thing tooth and nail, renting spaces or whatever like that, having children, going up and dance, beat drums and all this stuff for something that means first of the harvest that is not happening in December. How is the civilized world looking at these people? How are people with nationalities looking at these weirdos that they're calling their celebration something that's supposed to be happening in August or whatever, right? The celebration is not during that time. It's they're using a language of East Africa that has nothing to do with the slave trade when they say that they come from West Africa and all that stuff with slave trade,
Yeah.
right? All this, right? All the you know, the principles of Kwanzaa have to do with, you know, correcting your name and responsibility of this and that and collective this and unity and all these things that are encompassed in nationality, but they don't want nothing to do with nationality, but they're going to go celebrate Kwanzaa and whatever. So day 3, you know, we're still beating it up. We got 4 more days left, right? We got till January 1st to beat it up, and we're probably going to do a all-encompassing end of Kwanzaa, ass-kicking of Kwanzaa, just to go through all the principles and beat everything up more than it got beat up, right? So we just wanted to put that out there for the Moors to do their research and recognize and realize that, you know, we're on the up and up, and everybody's on the down and down, especially if they're identifying themselves as Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian, and think that they have some authority or whatever like that. They got some knowledge of self when they don't even know what they're talking about and what they're supporting, following, or whatever. Oh yeah, and Islam to all the Moors online, all the Moors worldwide. Um, we told you all about Japan, more in Japan. We showed, you know, we got South Africa online now. We got, you know, Moors in South America and stuff like that online now. So, you know, it's picking up in Germany. It's picking up right now. So we just want to put out one of the readings to be proclaimed in every meeting that Dirty Moors never read, trying to keep, you know, people who proclaim to be Moors in this docile, subservient position when, you know, I self-law master. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people on our side of the nation that claim it was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me, so they themselves may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting of funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the last few years. So it's clear that this Moorish movement doesn't belong to grand chiefs and grand governors and grand whoever else, supreme grand whatever. This is the people's stuff. And, you know, like we say, you know, this is your temple, you make use of it. Do what you will with it. If you don't want to do nothing with it, then, you know, Foudre will be up here doing classes. I'm already on Friday nights doing something, you know what I mean? Invite people, come, talk, whatever like that, because the forum is for people to learn, right? This is not some religious worship place. This is not church. This is where people are going to be getting their self cleared up. These were they're going to be getting their self cleared up as to um, what they've been missing, the keys that they've been lacking all through their life. I was speaking with a sister the other day, and she was talking about how when she found out about Moorish science, it was the thing that was missing. It was the thing that if she knew about this whenever or whatever, she would be way further ahead than where she is right now. You know what I mean? Not taken away from when she got the info, but it it has that bonding effect to individuals who are the return of the ancestors, right? And know that something's wrong and that stuff could go right. You know what I mean? We're not like, we're not like, you know, the Negro black color perspective that we wish something is, hope something comes, or, you know what I mean? Like, we know that, you know, we can see horizon.
Right.
And, you know, the light starting to kind of, you know what I mean, flicker out there. And we know that eventually it's going to be full noon out here for everybody. You know? So, actually, another thing that I wanted to touch on, we want to touch on this book again, 100 Years of Lynching. Now, we could just go anywhere in this, and it's to recognize why Noble Drew Ali said that we're not Negro black colored people, right? Why Negro was first in the line of we're not. Because the amount of atrocities that was going around against the Negro during Noble Drew Ali's time is something that had to be addressed. Somebody had to step up, even though, you know, we have the agents, you know, the capitalized N people, capitalized B people, you know what I mean? Doesn't matter what you call yourself, people. It had to be put in blatant terms that you're not that Negro. You're not that. While other people are beating around, you know, giving a pass to the word, still using the word, you know, like miseducation of the Negro, right? Just using the term, right? Negro Improvement Association and, you know, Universal Negro this and that or whatever like that. Just using the term like, you know, well, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? We're Negroes or whatever. So we really want to stress the fact as well that, you know, as we know, that Negroes, Spanish, that means black. So you're not Negro black is a strong statement to make. And he's not just addressing Moors that are, you know, dark-skinned, that are in northwestern Mexico. He's also addressing people in the south, people who speak Latin, Spanish, or whatever like that, right?
Even there, they have Moreno.
Right, exactly, right? So there is a distinction even there, right? That they'll call themselves Moreno and tell you that they're not Negro or Negro. They'll say we're not that, right? So we're just because, you know, for having the mentality of a Moor makes you look at all these stuff totally different. You know what I mean? The perspective. All the slavery stuff that they did to Negroes and whatever like that, it's not the same as being Negro mentality, black mentality, reading about, you know, this so-called black history and all these things that happen to people.
No.
It's clear that the individuals who were abusing these people were really only taking advantage of them because of their ignorance. Not because they hated them or nothing like that, but you want to be incompetent? All right, then we have bats and all that stuff for you until you fix this thing that, you know, this issue. And there's a chapter in here that that talks about the remedy that Noble Drew Ali brought to the Moors, right? And miseducation of the Negro, that all these so-called black leaders, bypass, pretend that it doesn't exist or whatever. So we'll start at now remember Drew Ali told the Moors that, when I've been to the South, and it's because of my people and crap that they're doing in the South why they're facing all these misuses and abuses and mistreatments. It's not because of the European. It's because our people choose to be something that they're not on a constant basis, right? St. Louis Argus, January 12, 1923, discovered that lynch victim was dark-skinned white. Shreveport, Louisiana, January 9th, Leslie Leggett was kidnapped last Wednesday night by a band of masked white men and riddled with bullets on the outskirts of town. Police Chief Basker, B-A-S-A-R, said complaints had reached him earlier that Leggett was in the habit of associating with white women. Leggett's employer, a white grocer named Charles Papa, in whose house Leggett roomed, later said that Leggett was not a Negro, but a swarthy complexioned Spaniard. Right? Leggett's employer, a white grocer named Charles Papa, in whose house Leggett roomed, later said that Leggett was not a Negro. Right? This goes back to the definition in the law dictionary.
That's right.
Every Negro, every black person is not a Negro. Not every Negro is a black or whatever like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
Because there were people who were free. There were people who had nothing to do with over here slave trade and all that got swept up in this atrocity that was going on, right? Due to the fact of how they looked.
Yes.
Which is why it's custom for Moors to be themselves. You know what Ali told the Moors? Be yourself. Why be yourself? Because we have customs that distinguish us from other people.
Right.
Right? So we don't get caught up in the mess. Now, we're just going to touch this. Islam to brother Ash L in Cali. He's one of the younger Moors coming up that, when Drew Ali talks about, Moors, we're going to come in with eyes wide open, seeing and knowing, and then we're like, we got this or whatever. Okay, well, the younger Moors, they got eyes like this coming up, right?
Yeah.
You know when they show the cartoon with the guys and the eyes?
Yes,
They got those eyes right there. So he sent me this today. We just want to read some of this article right here.
Fantastic.
Yeah, super fantastic. Because when we, right, now keep in mind what we just read, right? Keep in mind what we just read. And keep in mind also, if you've seen, or if you were here for the Jose Pimenta lecture day, he spoke about it when we brought him here, about this same thing about Moors be yourself. Right. And it's a different perspective when Fez is or whatever like that, right? Yeah. So you can the article is called How Turbans Help Some Blacks Go Incognito in the Jim Crow Era. Yeah, right. Okay. In the mid-20th century America, the turban was a tool that people of color used for confounding the color lines, writes Manan Desai, D-E-S-A-I, board member of the South Asian American Digital Archive. At the time, ideas of race in America were quite literally black and white. In some places, if you could pass yourself off as something other than black, you could circumvent some amount of discrimination. People of color, both foreigners and African Americans, employed this to their advantage. Some did it just to get by in a racist society. some to take a political statement, and others, performers and businessmen, to gain access to fame and money they wouldn't have otherwise. A turban makes anyone an Indian. Chandra Dharma Sena, Chandra was getting a doctorate at the University of Chicago in the 1920s, originally from Ceylon. Right, they're dropping some stuff in here. Originally from Ceylon, now Sri Lanka, he traveled around America lecturing on the need to abolish the caste system and on India's push for independence from the British, among other topics. In a recent article, Desai notes that visiting scholars from Asia and Africa were startled to encounter anti-black discrimination, but some of these people who were lugging around colonial baggage from their own countries found a way around racism. Sena, for one, used his turban while traveling in the Jim Crow South to avoid harassment and advised others to do the same. Remember, this is the 1920s. Any Asiatic, this is Desai, the article writer, any Asiatic can evade the whole issue of color in America by winding a few yards of linen around his head. Desai quotes Sena as saying, a turban makes anyone an Indian. Pause. Let's take care of a couple of housekeeping details. A turban isn't exclusively Indian. It has variations in the Middle East, East Asia, and North Africa. Right? But it was seen as a racial marker for Indians and led to acts of violence against Sikh communities in North America in the 19th century. South Asians weren't immune to racial prejudice. And then they have a picture here of a brother with a big turban with a jewel on it and everything like that, feathered just like the prophet. And it says, the Reverend Jesse W. Route, Routte, Negro pastor of Holy Trinity Lutheran Church, Jamaica, Queens, who told on Sunday that he rented a turban and wore it during a visit to Mobile, Alabama, and that he was treated like a visiting dignitary. Right? The power, right? There's more in the article or whatever, but you know, you could just research the article, right? So when we have Harriet Tubman talking about free the slaves and all that stuff. But when you free the slave, when you get off plantation, first thing you do, change your wardrobe. Right? Because as soon as they don't see you dressed like nigger, they already know that that's probably not somebody we should be, you know, messing with or whatever, because if they don't look like a slave, then they must be some dignitary from somewhere, if there were, especially if they got turban on, fez on or whatever. Jose Pimenta Bay spoke tremendously about his uncle, who, yo, peace, God. Jose Pimenta Bay spoke about his uncle, who used to tell him stories about that same thing. The uncle going in stores, you know what I mean? They go in the store or a restaurant or whatever like that, European KKK restaurant. They go in there with their They go in there with their turbans on, fezzes on, or whatever like that, and they get treated with the utmost respect. They didn't get treated slack. You know what I mean? They didn't get treated like nobody, right? They got treated properly because they knew immediately that these people weren't connected to these other people over here that, you know, strange fruit, right? University students help mob lynch janitor, Columbia, Missouri, April 29th. A mob that included many University of Missouri students, all you marchers and whatever like that, like to march and stuff. You know, this is what was going down in 1923 in Missouri. Right? A mob that included many University of Missouri students, both male and female today, lynched James T. Scott, a Negro janitor at the university, who had been charged with an attempt to assault the 14-year-old daughter of the head of the German department. About 500 citizens broke into the jail. Another thing, too, that you notice with all these stories or whatever, it's always some touching a white woman or something relative to Negro did something to some European lady. Why the mob came and lynched him or whatever, right? Emmett Till and all that. About 500 citizens broke into the jail, aided by an acetylene torch, and dragged Scott through the streets to Missouri, Kansas, and Texas Railroad Bridge that spans a deep ravine just outside the university section. Professor H.B. Olmsted, father of the intended assault victim, hearing of the lynching, went to the scene and appealed to the mob to let the law take its course. The students and townspeople laughed and booed him down, crying, "Hang him too!" Right? Finally, the professor went to his home and, polite-like, washed his hands of the whole matter. A rope was tied around Scott's neck, the other end secured to the bridge railing. Scott, bareheaded and with his shirt torn, repeatedly denied his guilt. "Before God, I swear I am innocent," he cried. Amongst devils, you know. Right? The girl who was attacked said that the attacker had been having trouble with his wife. "My wife never has had trouble with me. Go down and see her. I can prove my innocence." The Negro's plea brought some hesitation to the mob, but then a young man about 20 stepped forward, lifted Scott to the bridge railing, and dumped him over the side. His neck snapped audibly. Scott's body swayed in midair for nearly a minute as the mob mutely watched it. That's how they get down in Missouri, all the marchers then. Palm Beach, Florida. Florida Moors. This is why there's supposed to be a temple everywhere, teaching this lesson that we're not Negro, black, colored people. Like putting this out there, right? Like we say, on the highways and the byways, there has to be more putting out this message to the people. Whether they want to get it or not, that's up to them. But we can't say that, "Oh, well, we didn't," whatever. We have to be able to say, "Well, hey, we tried to tell y'all. We tried to tell y'all something, but you didn't want it. You didn't want it, right?" The body of Henry Simmons, Negro, riddled with bullets, was found today hanging in a tree on Palm Beach Island. Simmons was a native of the Bahama Islands. Oh, so if he's a native from Bahama Islands, that means he didn't come here on a slave ship or nothing like that. Interesting, right? Native of the Bahama Islands. He is said to have been an industrious and conscientious worker at a local ice cream plant, but he also made enemies because he was outspoken on the treatment of American Negroes by Southern whites. Okay? Baltimore, Afro-American, July 6, 1923. Negro father is lynched, aided son to escape mob. Bronson, Florida, January 4th. Samuel Carter, 46 years old, a respected resident of this place, was shot to death by a mob last night after he had admitted aiding his son to escape a lynch mob. Young Carter was sought by a posse because he was thought to know the whereabouts of an escaped convict charged with assaulting a white woman. The two were seen together several hours before the assault. The elder Carter faced the mob when the leaders knocked on his door, admitted that he had helped to get his son away by hiding him in the back part of his buggy. He led the mob to the point where he said his son jumped out and continued on foot. When bloodhounds were not able to pick up the scent, the members of the crowd vented their anger on the older Carter by riddling his body with bullets. That's another thing that they have, that they have this thing. When we hear about, you know, the shootings and whatever like that, that this is ancient stuff that they're doing. Not ancient, but this is old stuff. This is not nothing new that, you know, oh yeah, they're taking advantage of their power or whatever like that. This is something that they've been doing. This is the same, like we said, chief of police, mayor, whoever else that was in the KKK. You know what I mean? Inquisitionists, you know, Pope, you know, king or whoever or whatever like that, doing all these things against the Moors. Just because they choose not to be Moors, they want to be Negro, black, colored people, or whatever, right? So we're going to take a look at this miseducation of the Negro and point out some things that were interesting that Carter G Woodson dropped. Also some things with regard to his personal influence on other people and his studies, etc. Carter G. Woodson in 1912 was the second so-called African-American black guy or whatever to graduate from Harvard after W.E. Du Bois, right? So we know that his intellectual sphere of influence is that level. Like he's on W.E. Du Bois level. He went to Harvard and stuff like that. So they have the knowledge of about who we are and all that stuff. Whether they tell is a whole different thing. But they know exactly what's up if they went to them schools.
Right, they know the
right?
legal, the law
They
side
know,
of it,
yeah, they know, right?
social side.
Woodson lived during an exciting era. His life encompassed Booker T. Washington, W.E. Du Bois, Marcus Garvey, Philip Randolph, and the Harlem Renaissance. He was a member of the Niagara movement that led to the founding of the NAACP. So the people are people that gravitate toward all these different groups or whatever like that that are supposed to be for our liberation. We never go to the history of those organizations. We just take them face value as, you know, what it is. Just like people say NOI and, oh yeah, you know, that's it. They stop at 1930. Nobody does no research before that, right? NAACP, nobody does any research in the Niagara movement. Um, um, what's those people there? Watchtower, Jehovah's Witness and whatever, right? Nobody knows about them when they were called Bible Tract Society and they were talking about metaphysics and high science and stuff like that. Stuff like esoteric stuff they were talking about in the Bible Tract Society before it turned into Jehovah's Witness, where they start pushing this, you know, religious stuff and that's it or whatever, right? While he worked with Du Bois, this did not negate his involvement with Marcus Garvey. So we know about the beef, you know, Du Bois and Marcus Garvey or whatever, hated his guts. You know what I mean? Didn't support him at all. But you have this individual now. Remember, he was second line from Du Bois at Harvard, right? So, you know, his mentality should have been no different than Du Bois. Forget Marcus Garvey, you know, dark-skinned African or whatever like that, you know. But, you know, when you check Du Bois' resume, you already know that he had a personal agenda in order to try to get people not to be down with this thing that Marcus Garvey was doing. Even though they were both doing the Negro thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So-called unity amongst the people or whatever like that.
Yes.
But, right? Now, there's, not every chapter is applicable. Some of it is foolishness. But there's some chapters where he drops some gems in it. The first chapter, chapter 3, is how we drifted away from truth. Page 18. From the teaching of science, the Negro was likewise eliminated. The beginnings of science in various parts of the Orient were mentioned, but the Africans' early advancement in this field was omitted. Students were not told that ancient Africans of the interior knew sufficient science to concoct poisons for arrowheads, to mix durable colors for paintings, to extract metals from nature and refine them for development in industrial arts. Very little was said about the chemistry in the method of Egyptian embalming, which was a product of the mixed breeds of North Africa. Very little was said about the chemistry in the method of Egyptian embalming, which was the product of the mixed breeds of North Africa, now known in the modern world as colored people. Right? So laying out the landscape, right? That there's this thing called Egypt, right? These people of Egypt had a chemistry that they practiced called embalming, right? We know that chemistry, Arabic word. You know, why is he talking about Arabic perspective in chemic? Unless it's relative, just like Stolen Legacy, where he said that the Moors were the custodians of the Egyptian culture, right? And then we know that North Africans are Moors, nobody else. Nobody else qualifies under the term North African. Anytime they say North African, they're talking about Moors all the time, right? Now known in the modern world as colored people, right? So, and then he has the colored people in quote unquote. So obviously he knew something about that term not being an actual identity of the people, or he wouldn't have put it quote unquote, right? And then obviously colored law term means fake, artificial, or whatever like that, right? You guys need the fact?
Asiatics.
You're going like that.
Only like the Asiatics in North America are called.
Right. That's not a worldly thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Which again opens up that perspective a lot more now. You know what I mean? That when we really consider that it's only here. And then we go back to the theme again of Noble Drew Ali, that we're not Negro, black, or colored people. We're not Negro, and then that's Latin, means black. We're not black, English, Germanic word, whatever. We're not colored, law term, fake, fictitious, whatever like that. Covered all bases.
Just said that
Said that we're all Moors, without saying the term Moors, right? From literature, the African was excluded altogether. He was not supposed to have expressed any thought worth knowing. The philosophy in the African proverbs and in the rich folklore of that continent was ignored to give preference to that developed on the distant shores of the Mediterranean. Most missionary teachers of the freedmen, like most men of our time, had never read the interesting books of travel in Africa and have never heard of the Tariq es Sudan, Tarikhes Soudan, right? And then again, Tariq, which goes back to Moors again, right? Laying it all out so that people can have a perspective, a broader perspective as to who they are, what their position is, right? Political education neglected. This is chapter 9. Political education neglected. Key chapter. Some time ago, when Congressman Oscar De Priest was distributing by thousands copies of the Constitution of the United States, certain wiseacres were disposed to make fun of it. What purpose would such an act serve? These critics, and then we know that from the perspective of law, the Constitution of the United States, is not an act. That's a treaty, right? These critics, however, probably did not know that thousands and thousands of Negro children in this country are not permitted to use school books in which are printed the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution of the United States. They're not permitted to go to a school where the books talk about these documents,
That doesn't sound right.
right? Because of our connection to
Yeah,
those
that's what I'm saying.
documents, right? Put two and two together, you realize that, okay, so, and then we go back again to Congressman Oscar DePriest, who everybody knows, first black congressman of Chicago and all that, but he was down with Noble Drew Ali. And it was because he was down with Noble Drew Ali why he even did this thing about distributing the Constitution to everybody and telling them make sure they study that document. Because he was taught to be constitutional. The Prophet brought him up like that. Matter of fact, when you check the history, it's the Moorish Americans who voted him into office. Oscar DePriest. And then they classified him as the first black whatever. After, it's the Moors who voted for him. Right? Thomas Jefferson and James Madison are mentioned in their history as figures in politics rather than as expounders of liberty and freedom. These youths are not permitted to learn that Jefferson believed that government should derive its power from the consent of the governed. Not long ago, a measure was introduced in a certain state legislature to have the Constitution of the United States thus printed in school histories, but when the bill was about to pass, it was killed by someone who made the point that it would never do to have Negroes study the Constitution of the United States. If the Negroes were granted the opportunity to pursue this document, they might learn to contend for the rights therein granted, and no Negro teacher who gives attention to such matters of the government is tolerated in those backward districts. The teachings of government, or the lack of such instruction, then must be made to conform to the policy of keeping the Negro in his place. In like manner, the teaching of history in the Negro area has had its political significance. This program, so popular immediately after the Civil War, was not new, but after this upheaval, its execution received a new stimulus. Histories written elsewhere for the former slave era were discarded, and new treatments of local and national history in conformity with the recrudescent propaganda were produced to give whites and blacks the biased point of view of the development of the nation and the relation of the races. Special treatments of the Reconstruction period were produced in apparently scientific form by propagandists who went into the first graduate schools of the East to learn modern historiography about half a century ago. Having the stamp of science, the thought of these polemics was accepted in all seats of learning. These rewriters of history fearlessly contended that slavery was a benevolent institution. The masters loved their slaves and treated them humanely. The abolitionists meddled with the institution which the masters eventually would have modified. What they mean to say with respect to the peaceful relation of the races, then, is that the Negroes have been terrorized to the extent that they are even afraid to discuss political matters publicly. So the concept of Negro, black, colored people, first of all, being denied studying the Constitution, learning about, the founding of this so-called republic, right? Republican government, the treaty, right? The detachment of their learning of those things have now made them in the position where what we're seeing today, march, picket, lie down in the street, not doing anything. I just got a text from the Nuwapians that they're doing some petition to go send to somebody so they could free Dr. York and all this crap, right? When, you know, if they were on their square, if they were Moors,
Yeah.
they would don't worry about him, let him rot, and go do what you're supposed to do as Moors. What do you need him for? What's he gonna come out and do for people? He's 80 or whatever.
They need a leader or something.
Like they need a leader, right? When again, they're talking about it there too. It's not about no leaders. It's about people doing what you're supposed to do, right? Yeah, exactly, right? And if they would, and you know, it's when we look at all the schools of thought, and everybody always getting mad at Moors. Moors nitpicking at this and that. Oh, why Moors so and why you guys doing this and that or whatever like that. But you know, none of them could show tickets that they beat. None of them could show house that they claimed or whatever like that. None of them could show anything with regard to the same thing. This political perspective that they claim that they're they're exercising, right? But they're exercising that under some 14th Amendment foolishness, right? Contract, right? Distancing themselves further from being connected to the constitutional fold and having a certain power from a law perspective to force change. Because the real issue is us being in the position where we start governing ourselves. We don't need these people out here to govern us. We don't need to go to them to say, can you whatever, so we can whatever. You just do what you're supposed to do. You just do it. You know what I mean? Just like with the Moors, just go, you put down your card, no tax. Like,
Yeah. There you go. Here it
we
works.
don't need some card from European
Yes.
saying that, oh yeah, the European said that we don't have to get taxed. So here's the card that we got from the European to say that we don't charge us that.
Mm.
You don't need, it doesn't go like that. That's not freedom.
Doesn't make no
That's
sense.
more slavery than
Yeah.
than the slavery that we're under already.
Yeah.
But it's being done in Germany too. I think you sent me the link on Facebook about this German, it was in the news and everything, who found a quote unquote loophole in the Constitution and created his own society.
Mm.
And I think you sent me that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And his society is his house. If you seen,
And he has people there coming on the
Yeah, yo.
compound, and he has, I don't know.
if
got
you
all
seen
he got all this money, and he bought a compound, and people are there working to build the society.
They talked
They're
about
making
it.
Money that's backed by I think, silver.
Oh.
All of that.
yeah, all of that.
Wow.
I think they talked about it on Family Guy one time when Peter started Pretoria. He started his own nation or whatever like that. And then he had, the army was like, they had everything at the house or whatever like that. He had the house in a fence or whatever like that, saying this is his country, He had a flag with him on it. You know what I mean? And
It's like
then,
the Vatican.
yeah, they're making joke of it, but that's real.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's real,
Doing it.
right? What is it? Becoming a nation state. Which is what Noble Drew Ali, the concept that Noble Drew Ali brought to the Moors, that, you're Moors.
Right.
You know what I mean? Moorish Science Temple of America, Moorish Holy Temple of Science. Those are nation states. The actual institution. Yeah, it's there for learning and everything else, but there's different levels to what this is. You know what I mean? Right? And once we pick up on, it's the same thing with the man in Germany. Moors who are in that position, right? Where, they don't have a temple where they are and things like that. That's what's supposed to be going on. Pretoria. You are a nation state. Even if it's just you represent that jurisdiction as the only lawful de jure, official in that jurisdiction. And once you put people on notice and they don't come back and say, oh, well, we need to question this, we need to question that, then your claim stands. And once our claim stands on that level, then what do we need from some European? You know what I mean?
Right.
Because other people are going to recognize what it is that we're doing. That's one of the things too in the whole Pretoria thing, that they're mad because he's going to all these other nations or whatever, and they're giving him whatever stuff that he needs or whatever. He's not going to them no more, right? Same idea that we can go to China, Japan, India, whoever else.
Yeah.
You're a perfect example of that,
Yeah.
even, right? That freelancing, you could either be siding with Reebok, Adidas, or whatever, or you can be your own shoe company, and then you go talk to those people yourself. You're your middleman to make the deal for you so that you can get the 3 cents a shoe. Just go talk to them yourself, and more than likely they'll deal with you, just because the only problem that we have is the finance. That it's become a fiat finance system.
Because me and my godbrother were just talking about that today, and he's saying that China is just willing to finance.
Yeah.
If there's a legitimate idea, if you want to say, China is willing to finance.
Yeah. Right.
Especially China, they're the richest. They're the richest nation in the world.
Speaking about that, what's been the experience with because you have to get your own materials. So if somebody's if you're gonna make shoe for somebody, you have to personally go get
No,
materials
my
and stuff,
connection. Well, the thing is, my client in Sweden, they have their own factory.
Okay.
And so what happened was, last year when I caught a new client, they didn't have a factory, so I brought them to that factory. And I made connections there.
And because of your connections with them already, you bring somebody in, they're like,
yeah, exactly,
Thank you.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then if I want to do my own stuff, I can look up.
Right. Right. Big time. Big time. In certain parts, therefore, the Negroes under such terrorism have ceased to think of political matters as their sphere. They cease to see political matters as their thing. Just like how we say, at law, in propria persona, and then, Negro, black, oh, that's the white man stuff. Why you guys reading the white man stuff or whatever? There's not no caveman never made no law dictionaries around here. Never studied law from nobody but us. Never invented law. England never invented common law. Britain never invented common law, that they're the ones that have a monopoly on common law and nobody else can use common law. Just because, it comes from Britain or whatever, or comes from England. It's just like with the charters, the Masonic charters. And then all these Prince Hall guys got charters from Europe to say that they can be Masons when that's their stuff, when they're Hiram Abiff in the grave. So I'm talking about, you know what I mean? The European gave them authority to be whatever, wear white gloves and all this type of stuff. When it's their stuff, Where such things come into the teaching in more advanced work, they are presented as matters of concern to a particular element rather than as functions in which all citizens may participate. The result is that Negroes grow up without knowledge of political matters which should concern all elements. So the same thing that we're talking about, that cool, you want to celebrate Kwanzaa or whatever? No problem. What's your nationality? I don't know. If you don't know, leave Kwanzaa alone. Go study some politics or something like that. Go study some law. Get yourself squared up, and then go celebrate something. So at least that way, nationality is like grounding yourself. Nationality is like making sure that there's a foundation to the building. Nationality is like roots of the tree before You know, tree just sitting there with no roots. You expect some fruit to bear from that, right? Doesn't work like that. But our people, this is why, you know, it's not, you know, the miseducation of the Negro. It's re-educating unconscious morals. The Negro is always going to be miseducated. You can't educate the Negro. You can't get the Negro on a plane mentally that he's going to be competitive with all these other people out here. It's not happening. Unconscious more, you could get them conscious, and then they could make the steps to be better people or whatever like that. Right?
I find it interesting when you step outside and look at it from the outside looking in. Every other country said that this or that or this, and it was only black or white.
Right.
And a lot of people don't really look at that perspective, in that perspective.
No, they don't even contemplate it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You'll say, well, the Chinese man, he doesn't call himself yellow, right? But they say, that doesn't matter.
There's
That's not
a
how.
joke.
Right?
There's a joke. Oh, there was a black guy, a white guy, and a Chinese.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
come on, what?
Really?
You know?
Catch what happened there?
Yeah. And they don't catch what happened there. Right? Because the concept of civics is absent in their mentality. The concept of civics is something that they don't delve into. If they would be way better off. Right? If the individuals that classify themselves Negro, black, colored took the position of identifying themselves with a nation, pick one. Even if you don't say that you're Moor, okay, pick some other nation and attach yourself to that. Whatever, just something else. You say you're West African, okay, call yourself Nigerian, Ghanaian, or something like that, and then go out and there go march. You're marching as black people, and then all these people writing articles, you know, about certain situations. Oh yeah, the black guy did this, and then none of those people are stepping up and writing those people to talk about, hey, you guys are misclassifying us or whatever. You know what I mean? Because they don't talk about morals in the paper and all that stuff. They don't bring us up. But as soon as they bring us up, then that means that they know. And as soon as the European puts it out there, then everybody's going to jump on it because the European said it.
Yeah.
Right? To prevent the Negroes from learning too much about these things, the whites in the schools are sometimes neglected also. But the latter have the opportunity to learn by contact, close observation, and actual participation in the affairs of government. So even though so-called white man is working the same job as a Negro or whatever like that, and it appears that they're on the same level, they're really not on the same level. Because the European could go to some other European and learn the same thing that he has to in order to be governmental or to govern somebody else. But the Negro, black, colored, when he goes to somebody else, they are ordered not to teach them. They are ordered not to talk to them.
Unqualified.
Because those people are not qualified to even learn anything. That's why when you see cruise or whatever. You go on a cruise, Asiatics go on a cruise, and they dock the boat, they're only amongst the people who are selling grapefruits and oranges or whatever. That's the only people they can engage. They can't engage the real natives of the land. They can only engage the people at the dock. If you've been on a cruise, you know that they can't go far. They always give them a deadline. They'll make sure that you're back by the boat in 2 hours or whatever like that. Don't go too far or whatever because, they might go out there and get lost, start seeing people who look like them. Because they thought that they're going to some foreign place or whatever that, everybody here's alike.
Yeah.
Until they get over there, past that wall, or go around that corner, everybody's Asiatic around the place. You know what I mean? Just like how in Germany they got Moor Street in Germany. You got Moor Street in Germany.
It's around
Crazy.
all over. I think it's all over.
Right.
Probably in every city in Berlin, and it's surrounded by Parliament. And if you understand, that's what I'm saying. There's urban planning, right?
That's what it decides there.
Industrial
Right.
design is urban planning.
That has to be something planned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that has to be something planned. Right. Negroes in certain parts then have all but abandoned voting, even at points where it might be allowed. In some cases, not as many as 2,000 Negroes vote in a whole state. By special legislation provided for literacy tests and the payment of taxes, their number of voters has been reduced to a negligible quantity, and the few who can thus function do not do so because they are often counted out when they have the deciding vote. So Negroes don't vote. But then the ones that do vote, their votes don't even count when they vote. Which is what happened in Florida with Jeb Bush and all that stuff. Throw out those people's votes because it doesn't mean nothing. Right? The tests established for the restriction of suffrage were not intended to stimulate political education, but to eliminate the Negro vote by subterfuge. Negroes presenting themselves for registration are asked to do all but impossible thing of expounding parts of the Constitution which have baffled high courts, but whites are asked simple questions which almost any illiterate man can answer. In this way, the Negroes, however intelligent, are turned down, and all ignorant whites are permitted to vote. Right? That bias based on status. But remember, this was back then. Today, Europeans knew Negro, and they're choking Negroes out on the street, and you know they're depopulating the planet of Negroes right now. Right? Because the Negro is of no use anymore. There's nothing that the Negro can do, the black can do, the colored could do, to get respect from anybody around here. Nothing that they could do. Because they claim that they came from Africa, they're slave, and you know, slavery is abolished, so is your status.
Yeah.
So you don't count. And then on top of that, it's also the technological age, where nothing's manual anymore. So unless you're a robot, you don't have a job. Or unless you're intelligent, could use your hands or whatever like that in some type of trade form, you're not counted. Which is the problem that all youth are having today. Because they were taught, you know, go to school, get an education, whatever. Nobody taught them learn trades. Everybody taught them go to school, get diploma. Go to school, get degree. And now, they can't even pay their student loan. But, you know, as Moors, you know, you write some writs to these people, and what's a student loan? Student loan don't matter.
The same indigenous go to school for free.
Say that again?
The same indigenous go to school for free.
For real. There it is right there.
I was in Sheridan College and I asked them. They said, yeah, of course. I said, oh, how we see the base.
Wow, I had no idea.
Didn't know that. So that's one to check out.
Your PhD.
That's one to check out.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, those were all right.
That's one to check out.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, straight up. Because I mean, if we can go for free, if we can go to school for free, European school, whatever, who cares? We're more like we're fooled by that stupid stuff there about Europeans teaching us.
What do you say?
Oh, yeah, get a good European education. Yeah,
So,
you know what I mean. Get a good European education. I could use you. Right. Chapter 10. The loss of vision. He goes in, like, I don't know what happened to this word. I don't know how come I never read this book like this before. Because I was reading the book, I'm like, yo, he's actually going in on this. The loss of vision. History shows, then, that as a result of these unusual forces in the education of the Negro, he easily learns to follow the line of least resistance rather than battle against odds for what real history has shown to be the right course. Right? History shows, not opinion or whatever like that. Right? History shows that as a result of these unusual forces in education of the Negro, he easily learns to follow the line of least resistance rather than battle against odds for what real history has shown to be the right course. And just go with the program, right?
As soon as they're born, they place us in like a set routine. You know what I mean? You can the teachers is from school get up at 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock they're here. So every day they program us, you know what I mean? So that's, we're not gonna want to fight what we think is right. But they already pretty much made up the program for us to follow, right?
Post Willie Lynch. Post Willie Lynch, mommy and daddy just doing it all for them. It's just like clockwork.
Right. And then when we put that in contrast with, you know, like the battles that we faced, like we'll just go around get some, you know, talk about it. The battles that we face when we say that we're Moors, when we stop doing the Negro black colored, right? Realize that okay, you know, Moorish nationality, birthrights, or whatever like that. This is not no cakewalk anymore. This is not just, you know, pump your fist, yeah, Black Power, go to a rally and then go home, and that's it. Like, we're actually really facing the beast, you know, face to face now. Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah.
If you watch the Matrix, it's like most people that were awakened, they were like the Moors.
Right.
And the people in the suits that were trying to stop.
We're trying to stop them from knowing what's going on, stop them from exercising.
Their everyday life, look at the world was normal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But once they were awakened, they're like, shit, boy, I made a machine now. Why then them come after them and phone, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
If you look at it, the Matrix,
it's real.
They show it to us in videos. Who has the knowledge to see what they're showing us in these videos? You know what I mean?
It's a whole new paradigm.
Right.
Even when I was talking to Brother Cam, they had the Ebola outbreak. To let them know that's I am legend.
Right.
So
Yeah. Right. For real. Right. Y'all talk about that thing yesterday?
Yeah, it was, I was gonna go, I stopped at a cousin's house, went to go and stop at the convenience store, and there happened to be some policy enforcers just sitting in the convenience store. Then, I went to the beer store, then I went to the convenience store to get some vitamin water and some cotton candy, because I don't drink, right? Then as soon as I exited, these policy enforcers, they followed me, and then they stopped me, and they stuck his head in the window. I go, what do you want? He goes, it was ride program. I go, ride program? I was confused, you know. I was like, ride program don't, like, you know, sit in the
Don't
parking lot.
up.
In the parking lot.
They don't sit in the parking lot, they don't have on, you know, all the things. They have on the message saying ride program, right? So they said, okay, well, what's your name? I said, well, you know, Captain Nino Albay and everything like that. They said, what? I said, so I have this, I have my tag on. I said, you see? So that's my identification. You can read it, right? And I got my picture and everything, whatever. So they went to the car, came back, says, oh, you're under arrest. I go, for what? They go, oh, for obstruct peace officer. I go, no, I go, police. I go, police. I go, you're police? I go, for real? They go, all right. I go, so let me close up my stuff, whatever. I go, but matter of fact, I want to speak to your supervisor. They go, okay, he's coming. Put me in the bag, put handcuffs on me, and go, by the way, I'm on a scheduled fee. So you got some problems right here right now, so this better hurry up. So they took me all the way to the station. They said, what's going on with my car? They said, they're going to impound it. I go, impound? I go, so you're going to steal it? I go, okay. So, and the whole time, I had my phone because by the time I even seen the lights going on, I pressed record, right? And somewhere along the lines, I said, you know, for the record, and things like that. And I said, put me in.
Oh, you want to put you on?
Put me on there?
You want to go on it? Doesn't matter.
National TV, I spoke about
hear
Big Man.
I know people are gonna be. Yo, why is somebody talking and we're looking at Kudrow?
Peace, everybody. So, right after that, they took me to the station now. They're saying, well, if you promise to appear, would you sign this paper and then we'll let you go? I go, let me go. I go, hold on a second. Under the threat, duress, and coercion. It says, hold on a second. It said, yeah, okay. And I said, yeah, no problem. I go, but what name are you going to do it under? It said, well, under your Ontario license. I go, no. I go, that's not my name. I go, I have the power of attorney of it, but you can't do that. They go, oh, yes, you can. You have to go by that name. I go, all right, cool. That whole day, during the day, I was like, talking to everybody. I was like, I had my stamp with me. I usually walk with it, right? But I had it in my car, but I couldn't find it. So I was like, so I'm in a situation at night, and I'm saying, well, where's the stamp now? 2-2, they went in the car, they searched up the car. When I got arrested now, they hindered me and everything. Right on the table, bam, the stamp. I said, wow. I said, the day is good. So I said, so they brought the paper down. They said, I go, what name you put it under? They go, your straw name, Jamie Howe is my straw, whatever. So I said, okay, all right, that's cool. But by the way, see that stamp right there? Bring it over here for a second. And then I took it up, and I go, all right, I'll sign, no problem. Bam, like that, for the X. And they took me out to the release now and gave me some charges and things like that. I go, give me the papers. I go like that. They go, that's your signature? I go, yeah, that's my signature. They go, what's that? I go, reserve my rights. And then they did. I go, you kids have a good night.
Yeah.
That was it. And then they did.
Another day.
That's it.
I had to go for my conveyance and things like that. But when they came down for the conveyance to talk to me about the conveyance and talking about I had to pay for it because I told them, I go, listen, I didn't enter no contract for my conveyance to be here, so you have to pay for it. They go, oh well, by the law of this. I go, by the law. I go, which law is that? I go, so I read on my schedule. I had that in my vehicle and everything like that. And I made sure I got to my schedule fee. My schedule fee is about $20,000 now. And that's from 9 to about like 5 in the morning. I was hindered, right? Me and my conveyance. So I go, okay. Read to them, and they're like, by the time I was done, they're like, and didn't have no uniform on, and entered into a camera zone with no full uniform on.
That's it.
So,
It was
so,
a good.
so if we put that in perspective with Negro or whatever, right? Because that was when that was last night. So we have New Year's or whatever coming up. Man's not gonna be seeing. He would have been held for 3 days. Bottom line,
For
3
sure.
days, right? Impound plus holding fee and whatever other fees and all that type of stuff or whatever. But then in the status about knowing in the status mentally is a whole different situation.
Yeah.
Totally different situation than Negro black color would deal with. But Negro black color is not gonna go with that. They'll find every reason to,
My rights and this is racism and all that type of
So they have that Afrocentric school that
Yeah.
drama there, right?
Yeah.
Why don't they
Moorish
teach
American.
this to that, to the black people at that
Oh.
school?
Free man of the land. I said, say what? I go, lady. I go, I'm indigenous,
Yeah.
okay? I don't know about no free man of the land. I'm not no sovereign.
Yeah.
I'm a Moorish American.
Yeah.
Get it right.
Yeah.
They brought me in. When they brought me in, I go, as soon as they brought me in, I go, listen, hey, take it out fast.
Yeah.
I go, hurry up,
Yeah.
Okay, because schedule fee.
Yeah.
On time.
they know what's up. They know what's up. They're not confused. They know what's up. But with regard to the black school, we've been in contact with them people, and they're not.
It's a white
Yeah, you know what I mean. The curriculum has to be, slave. Yeah, has to
So
be
they
slave,
get paid, right?
right? Even though they have the, the dress code, like it's Afrocentric or whatever like that. I mean, they're learning just they're learning just the regular stuff that European school would teach. There ain't nothing special that they're learning. You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, I mean, the real issue is all the independent schools that closed because of that school opening. You know what I mean? All the independent schools that were self-run, self-governed by quote-unquote Africans or whatever like that, that said we're gonna start a school to help the community or whatever like that. All those closed down because that school opened. Because those guys said free, and these people were charging $600 a head or whatever like that. And they everybody could buy Jordans, but it's time to pay for your education. All of a sudden, everybody's broke. You know what I mean? They can have the best whatever rims spinning when the car stopped and all that stuff, but it's time to pay for education of their children. They're broke, right? Oh yeah, that's TDSB. Yeah. I mean, it's not really Afrocentric school.
Like, change the C.
You
Pronounce the C with the hard C instead of the soft C. African trick.
Right, yeah, African trick school, yeah. Yeah. Afrocentric, yeah, African trick school, right?
But I see last week in the paper, CAS is starting the black leaders of Toronto were trying to consider having black CAS.
Yeah.
Just dealing with black youth.
Right. Yeah. But then again, if it's sanctioned by the European CS, you know what I mean? You might as well be CS. You know what I mean? Yeah. All it's about right now is getting these people back in their passive state. Get them back in the passive state immediately, right? It's like with the thing with the so-called security guards at the funeral for the security guard turning their back on the guy, right? So all the so they have all the Negro black colored people behind the rail, right? Facing the so-called security guards who are turning their back on the chief of police or whoever it is, police chief or whatever, right? Mayor or whoever, right? And then the Negro black colored people, smart as they are, they turn their back on the guys who's been shooting people, killing people or whatever. Like they turn their back to them, like stupid people, to show some type of defiance or whatever. When you're an idiot, you turn your back to these people that just shot you up or whatever like that.
That's just monkey business right there. You know what I mean?
How you turn your back to these people?
Yeah. Monkey business.
All of them, huh? Everybody turn their back like, yeah, we got this. We know how to look at them because when they could have all got it just for turning their back. But no, you can't say who did it. All them out there with their guns or whatever like that. But Negro black colored people, their position is, they don't study civics. Because they don't study civics, they're incompetent. And if you're incompetent, ignorance of the law is no excuse. You get abused by law every day, all day, just because we choose to be ignorant of it. Right. Right. Yeah, it is. Yeah, because you're for real. Because you're black for real. Right? In 1816, freed Negroes like Richard Allen, James Fortin, and Robert Purvis were referred to as a foreign element whose social status might not be secure in this country. Instead of permitting the colonists to shove them aside as criminals to be deported to a distant shore, they replied in no uncertain terms that this soil in America, which gave them birth, is their true home. Right? Letting them know, again, that not everybody that was down with that idea that we came over here from somewhere. Some people who were already here, they took the position of, Where you trying to put me somewhere in some jurisdiction? I'm from here. If I'm from the islands, oh yeah, I'm from America still. Good try though. Right? Good try. If from Trinidad, oh no, that's America. It's a good try. You're not getting me to think that I came from way over there
Over there.
when America's right here. So I never came from here. I came from way over there, but I'm in the island. And then they go with it. Because the queen said. You know what I mean? Or whoever. Right? Always being referred to as a foreign element in their own jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Right? No different than with the family name on my dad's side, McCletchy, right? And everybody's, oh yeah, you know, Scottish and slaves or whatever. But there's streets in Tobago with McCletchy. How come a slave master is gonna put up a street sign with the slave name, not his name?
Everybody should know about that one.
Right?
That should be in every book.
How come? How come, you know, it's just like with the Olmec heads? How come, oh yeah, you know, the slave master told the slaves to make Olmec heads. 3-meter high head. They built that for the slaves.
A slave? If the slave could do that.
Right.
I ain't no slave.
9-foot head for the slaves. Not of master, but of the slaves. And then people buy that fiction. Right? America, which gave them birth, is their home. Here, their fathers fought, bled, and died for this country, and here they intend to stay. Today, when such things come up, you find Negroes appearing upon the scene to see how much pay they can obtain to assist in the proposed undoing of the race. Further emphasizing this sort of resistance, a few years later, Nathaniel Paul, a Baptist preacher of Albany, informed the colonists that the free Negroes would not permit their traducers to formulate a program for the race. You may go ahead with your plan to deport this element in order to make slavery secure, he warned. But the free Negroes will never emigrate to Africa. We shall stay here and fight until this foul monster slavery is crushed. Did I believe it would always continue, said he, and that man to the end of time would be permitted with impunity to usurp the same undue authority over his fellow, I would disavow any allegiance or obligation I was under to my fellow creatures, or any submission that I owed to the laws of my country. I would deny the superintending power of divine providence in the affairs of this life. I would ridicule the religion of the Savior of the world, and treat as the worst of men the ministers of the everlasting gospel. I would consider my Bible as a book of false and delusive fables, and commit it to flames. Nay, I would go farther. I would at once confess myself an atheist and deny the existence of a holy God. That's a preacher talking. He'll go to those lengths. He'll go to those lengths to stand up for over here. They're not taking him outside of here to go do anything in any other country or whatever like that. He's here. And these Negroes of a century ago stood their ground and fought the pro-slavery deportationists to a standstill. For with the exception of a few pioneers, the immigrants of Liberia were largely slaves manumitted on the condition that they will settle in Africa. These freedmen then could have no ideals but those of the slave-holding section from which they were sent. They established, therefore, a slaveocracy in Liberia. If Liberia has failed, then it is no evidence of the failure of the Negro in government. It is merely evidence of the failure of slavery. chapter 11. The need for service rather than leadership. Write that down. In spite of meager rewards, however, the idea of leadership looms high in the Negro mind. It always develops thus among oppressed people. The oppressor must have some dealing with the despised group, and rather than have contact with individuals, he approaches the masses through its own spokesman. Right? That's the same thing with the Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons and whoever like that. They always call up to the podium when something goes down. The so-called leaders of the black people, who, you know, they don't even care about black people. Half of them people are in lodges or whatever like that, and their job is to make sure that these so-called people do not get any type of respect, any type of acknowledgement whatsoever with regard to abuses that have been going on to them. Their job is to come out there, pacify the people, speak for the people, make sure that they don't riot, burn stuff down or whatever like that. And, you know, once they do that, then they can get their TV show. Then they get their newspaper or whatever. Then they get their whatever it is that they get. You know, it might not be a check, you know, because, you know, the technological era right now, so, you know, they might give them 5 cars, house or something like that. They might not give them a yellow envelope like before, right? Times change. The term itself connotes a backward condition. In its strides upward, a race shuffles off its leaders because they originate outside of the group. They constitute a load that sinks the oppressed in the mire of trials and tribulations. Leadership is usually superimposed for the purpose of directing the course of the ostracized group along sane lines. This was accomplished during the days of slavery by restricting the assembly of Negroes to certain times and places and compelling them to meet in the presence of a stipulated number of the wisest and discreetest men in the community. The supervisors of the conduct of Negroes would prevent them from learning the truth, which might make them unruly or ambitious to become free. Right? So all the leaders, so-called black leaders, Negro leaders, colored leaders, African leaders, whoever, their job is to prevent the people from learning the truth, which would make them unruly. Stop them from learning the truth, which will make them ambitious and want to become free. This is why the talk of we're Moors, we never heard until recently. Because all these leaders took their little payout to make sure they keep us Negro, black, colored. To make us keep us knowing the truth about we came from somewhere else. When that's not true, that's a fiction.
I also heard Barack Obama on one of his speeches about the Moorish.
Yeah. Yeah. And realize that he couldn't do that here. He couldn't do that here. He had to go to Egypt to go do that. Right?
But that's the same thing with the CES thing. It's the leaders of the community doing that.
Right. Yeah,
Petitioning for
petitioning for that.
And they were saying something like 41% of all youth in CAS.
Yeah, are Asiatic, yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're trying to dumb them, you know,
Right.
keep them away from
Right. Right. And for people who don't know, CS is Children's Aid Society. The same thing as Child Protective Services, wherever y'all are at. Same exact thing. Come kick people's door and take children, or they're kidnappers. Right? The kidnappers. Right? So these leaders, and like we spoke about in King Alfred plan, that they already know that we're not Negro, black, colored, and all that. They already know that Negro black colors are qualified as it, and it's our property, and they don't have any type of rights or anything like that. But they keep pushing this idea that, you know, eventually, you know, we'll get, you know, we just got to keep fighting on, and you know, the struggle continues or whatever like that. Like people supposed to be struggling forever or something, right? Everybody just supposed to keep struggling because, you know, we're the best strugglers. You know, we went through slavery, so we qualify as the #1 strugglers on the planet. The expert, expert strugglers. You know, we're the expert strugglers, right? So because we're the expert strugglers, then hey, you know what I mean? It's cool for us to struggle.
Yeah.
But then nobody else is buying that. You know what I mean? Ain't no other nation, you know, living up to that. They see struggle ending right there. They're not struggling forever. They realize that struggle has to end. You know what I mean? Like it has to end soon. They're not perpetuating this concept of struggling because they know that it's an error. They know that it's a fault. It's a fault for humanity to be struggling continuously, right?
Some people like being in the process and not seeing the end.
That too. Right on it. Right. After the Negroes become free, the same end was reached by employing a Negro or some white man to spy upon the report behind closed doors on a plan to enslave the Negroes' minds. In case that actual employment as a spy seemed too bold, the person to be used as such an instrument took up some sort of enterprise which the oppressors of the race warmly supported to give him the desired influence in the community. Right? So that's the same thing with the CAS and getting the leaders to back onto this idea that, well, you know, if 41% of kidnapped children by CAS are Asiatics, then we should have our own. Opposed to, how about let go of those 41%, give them back to their family or whatever like that.
And you know what they
You know what I
did
mean?
to
Or
try to
next of
make
kin or
it
something.
not sound so bad? They said that the Jewish already have their own CAS.
Right.
And I think they said, who else? Another
Right.
to make it not sound so.
Right. Not sound so
Yes.
segregated or whatever.
That's
Segregated.
That's almost half. That's a big
Yeah.
percentage.
Yeah. 41%.
That's a huge
That's a
percentage.
lot. That's a lot. Right? And it all comes back to that same thing about the status. Because the individuals that we've dealt with who said that they're Moors and their children are Moors, they got their children back. They went through some trials, tribulations, and whatever like that. It was a battle, but end in end, CS gave them back their children and they left them alone. They stopped sending them stuff, letters, calling them and stuff like that. Come, we gotta come check, make sure, whatever like that. All that stuff. And cease and desist with the coming to the house, unnoticed. You know what I mean? Just come knock the door anytime, just because you want to come check to see what's going on or whatever like that, right? This racial racketeer might be a politician, minister, teacher, director of a community center, or head of a social uplift agency. As long as he did certain things and expressed the popular opinion on questions, he lacked nothing. And those who followed him found their way apparently better paid as the years went by. That's the same thing that they did with the grant stuff. Remember when they started the whole grant campaign in Toronto, giving youth grants and stuff like that. Oh yeah, we'll give you grant. We got 50 million sitting here to distribute to, you know, all these are, you know, all you gotta do is apply. But you know, when you apply, make sure that you have minister, teacher, director of a community, or somebody like that, names on it. And then if you have the names of the whoever that qualifies, as soon as we see the name, we'll hit you off. The co-signer, right? And that's what's been going on. And now you have this generation now of youth who they've become conditioned that you can't do anything unless you get a grant. And if they don't get a grant, they're doing nothing. They're not going to take it amongst themselves to do something. They're going to say, no, we can't do it because, we applied for a grant, we didn't get the grant. So, we got to throw in the towel or whatever, right? Crazy. His leadership then was recognized, and the ultimate doing of the Negroes in the community was assured. Such leadership, too, has continued in our day, and it goes from bad to worse. The very service with this racial today hardens him to the extent that he loses his soul. He becomes equal to any task the oppressor may impose on him, and at the same time, he becomes artful enough to press his case convincingly before the thoughtless multitude. Come back to the same thing, that all these people know for a fact, Al Sharpton's CIA or whatever like that, and they're going to let him go up there on the podium to talk on their behalf.
Yeah.
And nobody's not pulling that guy down. Everybody just chill, you know what I mean? The mothers of these, the parents of these children, whoever shot up by these so-called highwaymen, right? They're allowing this guy to come talk. They're telling him, oh yeah, come to Christmas dinner, stuff like that, sit around your table. When these guys are CIA and FBI, and they're sitting around their table eating Christmas dinner or whatever like that, willingly. What is right is sacrificed because everything that is right is not expedient, and what is expedient soon becomes unnecessary. Recently, a citizen observing how we have been thus betrayed suggested that they be called a national meeting to take steps for a program of development of the race from within under a quote-unquote new leadership. The Negroes, however, will not advance far if they continue to waste their energy abusing those who misdirect and exploit them. The exploiters of the race are not so much at fault as the race itself. If Negroes persist in permitting themselves to be handled in this fashion, they will always find some one at hand to impose upon them. The matter is one which rests largely with the Negroes themselves. If the Negro could abandon the idea of leadership and instead stimulate a larger number of the race to take up definite tasks and sacrifice their time and energy in doing these things efficiently, the race might accomplish something. Once again, that's why Drew Ali said that he wants strong men and women to assist him in this. Because don't be looking at him talking about, oh yeah, prophet coming up here or whatever. Or, oh yeah, Cujo, the car just got impounded, can you come help or whatever like that. That ain't what's going on. Leader amongst himself. Leader amongst himself and herself. We don't need leaders anymore. There's no need for podium guys. Because by now, everybody should be able to go step up to that podium and say something. Anybody, we should just be point the crowd. You go up on the podium, talk for the nation. I have no individual that oh yeah, well he's the grand whatever, so put him up there because he's qualified or whatever.
That's why when that individual goes,
If something happens, then everything falls down because nobody took the position of saying, hey, well, how about me just in the background, do my little whatever. So if something happens, at least we can still hold this thing up. right? Because everybody is a leader. So once again, if the Negro could abandon the idea of leadership, so abandon the idea of leadership, and instead stimulate a larger number of the race to take up definite tasks and sacrifice their time and energy in doing these things efficiently, the race might accomplish something. The race needs workers, not leaders. Such workers will solve the problems which race leaders talk about and raise money to enable them to talk more and more about. When you hear a man talking, then always inquire as to what he is doing or what he has done for humanity. Oratory and resolutions do not avail much. If they did, the Negro race would be in a paradise on earth. It may be well to repeat here the saying that old men talk of what they have done, young men of what they are doing, and fools of what they expect to do. The Negro race has a rather large share of the last mentioned class. If we finally succeed in translating the idea of leadership into that of service, we may soon find it possible to lift the Negro to a higher level. Under leadership, we have come into the ghetto. By service within the ranks, we may work our way out of it. Under leadership, we have been constrained to do the biddings of others. By service, we may work out a program in the light of our circumstances. Under leadership, we have become poverty-stricken. By service, we may teach the masses how to earn a living honestly. Under leadership, we have been to despise our own possibilities and to develop into parasites. By service, we may prove sufficient unto the task of self-development and contribute our part to modern culture. The new program. Yo, never knew. Been at this, never knew. We have very few teachers because most of those with whom we are afflicted know nothing about the children whom they teach or about their parents who influence the pupils more than the teachers themselves. When a boy comes to school without knowing his lesson, he should be studied instead of being punished. The boy who does well in the beginning of the year and lags behind near the end of the term should not always be censured or ridiculed. As a rule, such children are not responsible for their failures. Their parents and their social status. Their parents and their social status account mainly for their shortcomings. Their parents and their social status account mainly for these shortcomings. The Negro teacher then must treat the disease rather than its symptoms. But can you expect teachers to revolutionize the social order for the good of the community? Indeed, we must expect this very thing. The educational system of a country is worthless unless it accomplishes this task. We thought 41% or whatever in CAS. Obviously, the school ain't doing what they're supposed to do or whatever, right? And then society is not helping because, parents can't even homeschool nowadays if they don't got a job or whatever like that. Because they got 5, 6 jobs, that's 24 hours a day that they're working. And, big brother has to take care of little brother, you know what I mean? And he's 5 or whatever. He's taking care of a 3-year-old. And then he's going to school learning from some European about, he doesn't know himself. And then on top of that, you got the teacher who knows, the family stuff going on or whatever, and they're not doing nothing. They work the rule, 3 o'clock, they're out the door. Ain't no extra help or nothing like that no more, right? Out the door. You know what I mean? Back in the day, you could at least get a teacher to sit down with you for until 5 o'clock or something like that. Nowadays, that ain't happening. Out the door. These people. As soon as the bell goes, teachers, out the door. You know what I'm saying? Right? Out the door. The educational system of a country is worthless unless it accomplishes this task. Men of scholarship, and consequently of prophetic insight, must show us the right way and lead us into the light, which shines brighter and brighter. You know what Jolly told the Moors? You know, come into the marvelous light or whatever. Right? In the church, where we have much freedom and independence, we must get rid of preachers who are not prepared to help the people whom they exploit. The public must refuse to support men of this type. Ministers who are the creations of the old educational system must be awakened, and if this is impossible, they must be dethroned. Those who keep the people in ignorance and play upon their emotions must be exiled. The people have never been taught what religion is. For the most part, preachers find it easier to stimulate the superstition which develops in the unenlightened mind. Religion in such hands then becomes something with which you take advantage of weak people. Why try to enlighten the people in such matters when superstitions serve just as well for exploitation? The ministers, with the confidence of the people, must above all things understand the people themselves. They must find out the past of their parishioners, whether they are brought up in Georgia, Alabama, or Texas, whether they are housed under desirable circumstances, what they do to make a living, what they do with their earnings, how they react to the world about them, how they spend their leisure, or how they function along with other elements of the social order. In our schools, and especially in schools of religion, attention should be given to the study of the Negro as he developed during the antebellum period by showing to what extent that remote culture was determined by ideas which the Negro brought with him from Africa. To take it for granted that the antebellum Negro was an ignoramus, or that the native brought from Africa had not a valuable culture merely because some prejudiced writers have said so, does not show the attitude of scholarship, and Negro students who direct their courses accordingly will never be able to grapple with the social problems presented today by the Negro church. To educate the Negro, we must find out exactly what his background is, what he is today, what his possibilities are, and how to begin with him as he is and make him a better individual, the kind that he is. Instead of cramming the Negro mind with what others have shown that they can do, we should develop his latent powers that he may perform in society a part of which others are not capable. During his life, the author has seen striking examples of how people should and should not be taught. People of these are worth relating. Probably the most interesting was that of a missionary worker in China. In 1903, the author crossed the Pacific Ocean with 26 missionaries who were going to take the Orient by storm. One Todd from North Carolina was orating and preaching almost every day to stimulate his co-workers to go boldly to the task before them. Dr. DeFrost, long a missionary to Japan, informed them that the work required more than enthusiasm, that they could not rush into the house of the natives saying, "Peace be to this house," for it might turn out the other way and give somebody opportunities to say, "Peace be to his ashes." Dr. DeFrost explained to them how he chose a decidedly different course, preferring first to study the history, the language, the manners, and customs of the people, to approach them intelligently. And not until had he been in the country 4 years did he undertake to exhort, but after that time he had the great success and had been invited to preach before the Mikado himself.
That's heavy because I went to when I went on my first time to Germany, when I went on exchange. We went on exchange to South Korea and visited. I think we visited Samsung Design and LG Electronics. And LG Electronics said what they do is um, either LG or Samsung. They said what they do is they'll send a designer to Brazil and stay there for a month to learn the culture, and then come back and design towards that culture. This is exactly what he's saying.
Right, so Miseducation of the Negro, Carter G Woodson. And just to close out on the miseducation of the Negro. Quotes.
They talk English, they talk
They don't
English,
want-
they don't like it.
They don't do
I
it.
went to Quebec in the summertime with my kids, that's all like, I know like a little bit of French. Some are like, bonjour, comment ça va? Oui, 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 oui. They're playing the role and shit, right? So now they talk to me like, oh, this black guy is trained. And automatically it's very English.
Yeah.
But they want to see,
Right. See how much you know.
Yeah, but if you go there and you hear them talk English and they say, excuse me, can you tell me how to get here? No, no, how to put it on there. Then they switch up quick, you know what I mean? But they want to see that you're making an
Right.
effort. You know?
Right.
So that's what
Yeah,
they're
they expect you a lot.
They respect you more
Yeah.
when you show.
No matter how broken it is, like especially like in France too, no matter how broken your French is,
Yeah, they want to
put
take
the
the
effort.
It's like with
Smile
anything
at
in
you,
life,
they'll help you, yeah.
anything in life, where if people help you, you help yourself.
Right.
You help yourself from what can help you. You take that effort to do anything people expect you.
And if you go to Asia, what they really respect is if you learn their true names. Because they always say, well, my name is James or whatever, to cater to the Western world. When you ask them what's your real name, and you learn it, that's what I do. That's what I do.
The miseducation of the Negro. Quotes from Dr. Woodson. When you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. You do not have to tell him not to stand here or go yonder. He will find his proper place and will stay in it. You do not need to send him to the back door. He will go without being told. In fact, if there is no back door, he will cut one for his special benefit. His education makes this necessary. History shows that it does not matter who is in power. Those who have not learned to do for themselves and have to depend solely on others never obtain any more rights or privileges in the end than they did in the beginning. We need workers, not leaders. Such workers will solve the problems which race leaders talk about. In the long run, there is no such discrimination against superior talent. It constrains men to recognize it. Carter G Woodson. That's the founder of Black History Month too, or Black History Week.
I'm gonna leave with Black History a year. That much get shot. 98 years and another month.
Who was it? Morgan Freeman said that's what that is.
Yeah, Carter G Woodson.
Morgan Freeman said Black History Month is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
So, some of his books, Dr. Woodson authored more than 16 books, in excess of 100 articles, and greater than 125 book reviews. Some of his books include The Negro in Our History, The Education of the Negro Prior to 1861, A Century of Negro Migration, The History of the Negro Church, The Negro Professional, African Myths, Negro Makers of History, The Story of the Negro Retold, and the African Background Outlined. In 1926, Woodson founded Black History Week. He chose February because most African Americans did not know the 13th Amendment freeing the Africans had been signed in January 1865. Africans in some southern states, i.e. Texas and Louisiana, did not find out until June, giving us the holiday Juneteenth. Woodson selected the second week in honor of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. So we'll just open up for questions. If anybody has questions, we could deal with a couple of those now. Just checking the email, see if there's any. Any comments on the book? Um,
But it's pretty much from the
yeah.
That's about it.
Published by African American Images. AfricanAmericanImages.com. The publisher. Um, on a higher spiritual plane, do you think that the televised lynchings of dirty Moors are a good thing as far as a push in consciousness? What other way do black people think they are going to make it out? Nobody is helping them, especially the UN. So what do black people honestly think is going to save them? These burning black people, they're burning black people on the side of the road. Yes, right? That's the first thing. First thing, stop calling yourself black people, right? Um, with regard to dirty Moors and televised lynchings, hopefully lynching dirty Moors on television or whatever like that would let other people, know, don't side with them, or that's what you're gonna get. Just like you said, all the preachers or whatever sell out people, they need to be exiled. They don't need to be around here still chilling like they didn't do nothing wrong when they caused super disservice to the nation as a whole. All the people who sold out or whatever, all the people who took the position of denying people their birthright, selling people their birthright, 3,500 for a nationality card and stuff like that. All those people need to be sent somewhere, right? Preferably somewhere where they're not breathing, because nobody else lets traders chill. Nobody else allows traders who are known traders to chill. Well, yeah, still come around the crew, dinner, eat something or whatever like that. It don't go on like that.
The president of Iraq signed the bill to kill Saddam Hussein. So then he said he didn't want to sign the bill. So he went to the Americans and he said, okay, I'll sign this bill, but you have to give me this amount of money and peace. I want to come to the States. Right? So they gave him the money, but they turned it back on him. Right? So then as soon as he went back to Iraq, they killed him. The Americans didn't want him, the women didn't want him, no one wanted him. He turned on this guy who was running the city, right? So they killed him.
Right. And it's not no condoning of killing or whatever, but I mean, these are traders, like traders. You know what I mean? That's why they have firing squads, stuff like that, for a reason. Not just criminals only. You know what I mean? And if you're traitorous, especially against law of the land, your own and stuff like that, that's criminal. That's criminal. That's life. Go check Title 18 and all that stuff. They talk about that. That's a federal offense. Higher than that even. International war crime. You know what I mean? The other question that we had was, aside from those who may be agents, why do you think there are Moors who declare and proclaim their nationality, but still call themselves Negro, Black, African, or Ethiopian? More than likely because they're getting some handout from the European. Because you can't intellectually, morally know that you're a Moor and then go opposite of that willingly. Like it's not. It can't work. You know what I mean? Yeah. Right. That too. You know what I mean? A lot of people who proclaim to be Moors, like brother's saying, their intentions from the jump aren't with it. They're just doing it just because it's cool, or that guy said it, or it's gonna make me get off my ticket. And as soon as they get off the ticket, they're back to they're doing nigger stuff because they got
Right, I talked to a sister yesterday. Yeah.
Detroit.
Yeah.
Funny enough, this lady, she was born into the Moor stance, theology and whatnot. And
She has relations with the Philadelphia
her legal
CFP
name,
and everything.
her legal name is something L-A-U.
Yeah.
And,
But she still carries the last name along with it.
and she was surprised when talking to her, and she said that she's paying taxes and whatnot. I'm like, how did L-A pay taxes?
Right.
And she's like, yeah, I was born into the Moorish Science Temple, and when she was talking, I'm like, so you go to a church?
Yeah. Basically.
You know, and I told her, like, she's talking about this houses in Detroit going for like a Jeep. Like,
Yeah.
Really? I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what?
Yeah.
Like 6,000 houses. He got a bunch of people together.
So she said that in order to get a lot, you have to be certain like diagonally from somebody or you have to be behind them or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hold on a second, you're more and you talking what?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
That's
that makes sense.
that's
Yeah,
the
man.
that's the
Not living constitutionally.
that's the
The religious ones.
the religious perspective. You know, the perspective of coming to Moorish Science Temple of America. You know, just say that you're LB, and you know that's it. Ain't nothing else. You know, make sure you come to your meetings. You know, every Friday we got another meeting. And Sunday we have whatever meeting. Pass the plate or whatever like that. Once you put your 5 cents in, you're good. You're a Moor, and that's it. And they don't have no dictionaries at their house. They don't study. They don't. You know what I mean?
And I was like, no, we should go there and, you know, talk to people. First, let me check your credentials and blah, blah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because remember that, you know, it's the same thing that we're talking about with the leadership. You know, the quote unquote leaders, they make sure that nobody's coming here to mess up our fiat. You're not coming in here talking about, you know what I mean? Oh, give people the information so that they can go home and study, opposed to coming here and putting something in the plate every Sunday, every Friday, or whatever like that.
She's born in Virginia.
Yeah.
She's born in Virginia, and she moved to, she hit me up. She
Yeah.
had me on Facebook.
Yeah.
I got people at me on, like, every day.
For real.
She had me, and she went, yeah, I heard you talking in this discussion here. You're in Canada. And I'm like, yeah, I'm in Canada,
Yeah.
whatever. And she's like, yeah, I was born in Virginia, and I was born into this. And I moved to Detroit, so I've been to many temples.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, you did that many? And yeah,
And you don't know about civics. Yeah. That's the issue.
I'm like, oh, man,
Yeah, that's the issue. That's
Yeah,
it.
it was like,
Yeah, naturalized.
That's deep.
Yeah.
like I was like, she said her name is that. I said, no, what's her actual name?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
her
it's
name was
that-
like
Exactly.
She wants
Yeah, exactly. Right. Any anybody got any questions? Any questions? You got something back there. You know?
Just like how you guys gave
I know you got your book out back there.
You also told me about myself. Right? So to be involved in it for that long,
And
she
not
still is aware enough that teachings are to go and prove it, find it for yourself.
Yeah.
It's there.
yeah.
We're not in a world where she can't just
Can't
look it
find
up.
exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Just being naive.
Yeah. So now, because it's most people that know about this, they soon take it off. Like,
Yeah.
when they think about this book, with all of this knowledge is accessible, and the more people that are being awakened, the government has that power. Right?
Yeah.
They can shut it down.
Yeah, I mean they're doing that already. They're doing that already.
You know
You know what I mean? Yeah, they're doing that already. You know, they're trying to shut it down on a level, but they can't really.
They can't really still.
Yeah,
like,
they
watch
can't
it.
really.
Just like with movies, I could only compare it to movies, but like, you think about Star Trek, Captain's Log, they showed us our first cell phone,
Yeah.
our first flip phone, our cell phone. So I'm saying, so they break us down to this. Yeah, they break us down in a lot of things. So if you really watch the movies, they're going to show us what's happening in the world.
I just saw a cartoon called The Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, and one of the characters is a straight dark skinned turban wearing Moor, and he doesn't talk with no Indian accent or anything. Just straight
For real.
turban,
Say
jewel,
Piccolo.
everything. And he's
Piccolo
dressed
returns.
in red.
For real.
Yeah, called
Piccolo
awesome.
returns. Yeah, man.
So what's your take on this Obama and Cuba have an agreement now to correspond and Saddam Shakur is that it seems that this will
No, well,
capture the bounties and all that.
It's really democracy just doing what they do. Because remember, Obama doesn't have no power or nothing. He's bankrupt and insolvent. Bankrupt and insolvent. They're looking for credibility. Forget Assad or whatever. They're looking for people to recognize them so they can have a little bit of power because they're running out of power everywhere that they go. People are starting to throw down the U.S. dollar and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's an animated thing.
Yeah, it's an animated.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's the Moor right there. The awesome. And then he has his feather and his jewel and everything.
Yeah.
Feather and all
They
that.
always gotta put one, right?
They always gotta put one. They gotta put one.
Please, one.
They got
I
to.
get it, but
They got to.
it's still conditioning though.
It's got to. Right? Straight up. Anybody out there? You sure you?
Yeah, I was watching Dr. Who.
Yeah.
Just sort of like a couple years ago because they were doing like a marathon.
Right.
And the doctor himself, yeah, that's
Mm.
so
And remember,
exactly the same color.
right. And remember that Doctor Who's an alien. He's not from Earth. Yeah. What do you know about Fez? He's an alien. How come he's an alien and he comes here and then of all the headwear for him to have, an alien, all the headwear for him to pick up. Pick up the Fez? Did you pick up no other headwear on here? And then he's wearing that like, I'm the man right now. I'm the man. Yeah, yo. Doctor Who. That was like we talked about a few classes ago. I was working at this school, and in the school or whatever, and I was talking on the phone to somebody. And you know how they have the door with the little window, you know, to go into the staircase or whatever. I look through and I see this little Asian girl with a little red thing on. I'm like, nah, this is not really what's going on. Call her out. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, what? Doctor Who marathon or whatever, you know what I mean? She made a fez in her class and all that type of stuff, you know what I mean? Walking around the school all day with her fez on. All day. You know what I mean? Because, yeah.
About the War Museum with the Asian.
The leather?
The Asian guy that I saw at the War Museum.
Oh, with the
Yeah.
top. Yeah.
Full on fez this long and then round at the top. And right when I was about to pop a picture of him, he took it off.
Yeah.
And he's about 70. He's about 70 years old.
Yeah. And that's where was that?
That was in Vietnam.
In Vietnam. So Vietnam knows what's up. You know what I mean? Filipinos, they know what's up. They got their stuff up. They rep it hard. Call themselves Moros, all that. You know what I mean? And they know, and the Moros know that they're so-called Muslim, and their duty is to fight for land that's stolen by the government from indigenous people. Moros military or Moros something, whatever, dealing with the military.
How did you get this going on to Special Committee 24 or
24,
something?
yeah.
Part of the UN that goes and helps colonize lands to be colonized. The colonizer is supposed to help the people of the land get back to self-reliance and self-sustainability.
Yeah, and you know they're not, giving us up that.
That's what I'm saying.
They're like,
Yeah.
you can't say we didn't.
Yeah.
Try it. Told you.
Yeah.
You know. It's good.
As far as the currency, like America, especially, it's like the way that they have pyramid, and, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they have the currency, like, it's like, you know, the way that they
Palestine, they have it, and that's what they put their currencies based off. What's the reasoning for that same symbolism on their bills so far away from their bills?
The pyramid on the dollar bill?
Yeah.
Yeah, because over here is where the biggest pyramid was. Mexico.
Biggest pyramid
Yeah.
in Mexico?
Yeah. The like biggest pyramid to the point where when they demolished that pyramid, they made cities out of it. Yeah, like there's pyramids. I think they said that it was like the pyramids in Giza could fit in the Mexican pyramid 4 times or something madness like that. Something like that.
Yeah, the oldest one I think is
Yeah, I think Peru is the oldest one, but the biggest one was in Mexico, if I'm not
Now it's
mistaken.
non-existent. They just moved it into the city.
Yeah, they just took it down and built cities with
No
it.
permission, just knocked it down.
Yeah, see?
So why wouldn't they have done that in Egypt?
Hmm?
Why would they
Egypt,
have
but I
done
think
that in
Egypt's like a different thing.
Yeah, it's a different. It could be also too with
Just to erase the
to
symbolism.
because remember that they have to. It's about detaching people from here and connecting them with over there, right? So automatically, like people's mentality is pyramid Africa.
Right.
Yeah, like you know what I mean, and they totally disconnect that pyramids are on this side too.
I never even heard that in school.
Yeah.
I just wonder why they wouldn't have gone
Pyramid,
into
that's
more of trying to eliminate it so we had no permission.
Yeah, but here's the thing too. On the dollar bill, the pyramid at the top is cut,
Yeah.
and all the ones over here
It's
are
like
cut.
that.
Are like that.
There's no capstone.
Yeah, there's only the ones in Egypt.
Right.
There has
That
that
had actual
cap-
permission.
But I think also it plays into the China, that brainwash over there.
Yeah.
Right.
And from there to here, so you have to use something to kind of
Yes, yes,
substantiate
yes.
that,
Right,
right?
to push that fraud. Yeah.
True. True.
And at the same time too, the dominant of the ego shows that you have one government.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it
You-
says
and you
Nouveau
read from left to right,
order
and
support.
Yeah.
Now they use Nouveau order.
Right. But the new world order is the old world order. It's not really new.
Right.
You know, that's why they use the pyramid
Yes.
because that's ancient.
Yes.
But they're still gonna say new world order, but they're using a pyramid, which is ancient.
It's good to them.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's new to them.
The eye also looks like a Caucasian eye.
Yeah. But then
In
But then when you go into Library of Congress, the eye is called Providence or Eye of Allah, which means that the government wasn't Christian, which gives up more stuff that you know what I mean? That KKK and all that, they got Quran and people think that they're burning crosses. They're burning crosses. That means they're not down with Christianity if they're burning the crosses. Why are they
On the
burning
Supreme Court,
crosses?
on the Supreme Court, they have I
Yeah.
think it's Constantine, Muhammad.
Oh yeah,
and,
yeah. Is it?
Who's
Who
the
is it
third
again?
one?
I can't remember.
Constantine, Muhammad's the middle pillar.
Yeah.
The middle symbol.
Who's it again? Constantine?
Oh, no.
It's not Albert Pike or somebody like that.
No.
What is it again? Supreme Court, right?
Yeah, the Supreme Court.
Any other questions?
Does the owl have any symbolism to Palestine?
Yeah, just wisdom.
But,
Wisdom.
in,
60 degrees of knowledge. Because I can do the head
There's
spin.
an owl.
Yeah.
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 Well, what's interesting is in, I don't know if it's in all Arab culture, but I know in the Palestinians, the owl is bad luck.
Right. And the few of the artists that are using it now, whenever they're asked about it, they refrain from explaining anything to do with it.
Because if you really look at what's popping in the world today, it's follow fashion world, bro.
I get it, but I see a lot of, like, they always try to, like, a lot of demonic or negative beliefs, because for them, they do their ritual and all the thing there, same things and all that, right? Yeah. They take it, but what I'm saying is, I'm just trying to separate, I'm trying to find the more righteous meaning to these symbols, because I know they're stolen, but I'm just
Well,
trying to find
it's
the separation.
the thing is that it's the origin of it is where you're looking for, right? It's like with the flag, right? The star. People say that's Baphomet, right? But you know, on another side, it's Venus. You know, pick your side. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and then where you pick. If you're looking for righteousness, then use that. Even if they're gonna say it's negative or they're gonna say negative stuff or whatever like that. All right, cool. You know, that's your opinion. You know what I mean? That's what it is for you. But for me, this is what it is to me. You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah, because I think the symbol for the hour is wisdom.
Right. Yeah. 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 Right.
I know that you think that but all they do is refer to that.
You put a stamp on it. What's the time?
She's 31.
Oh, question. How do I watch this on? Right? I've been trying to find this. I
Um,
live in Hamilton.
It's all right. We YouTube it. We YouTube it all. So just go YouTube on Canaanland Moors. And once you put in Canaanland Moors, then you'll get all the archives. Everything gets
So for those classes, like say for example, if you guys have the classes Sunday, Friday, and Saturday, I live in Hamilton.
Yeah.
You're supposed to watch them Friday and Saturday when I found them.
to watch them live. You mean?
Yeah, so that at home.
Yeah.
I want to watch them live.
Yeah. You'll be I mean if you can get them live, you know what I mean. But it's mainly Sunday. Yeah, I'll give you the link for it.
I heard it was, I don't know if true, but they said it was bad in
Right? They refuse to play it, but then you know they're gonna go plaster across all the stuff over there, you know, to hide the fact that it's Asiatics. But they're gonna deny. They're not gonna play the European version, or but they're gonna plaster over all the stuff, try to pretend like it's just a pyramids there and that's it, no hieroglyphics. You can read that one? Yeah, MHT online, Kananta, KANAANTA.
I was watching X-Men.
Oh, you have to talk up a little more.
Sorry, I was watching X-Men. You know how in the Marvels?
The new one? Or just
it's
general? Okay, yeah.
Right. At the end of the film, they showed the most blasphemous thing I've ever seen. I have a video, but it showed from behind. They show all the pieces of the pyramids of the big boulders put together
Yeah.
and forming the pyramid. And as the camera came around, you see pale skin doing this as though he's using to make enemies to format.
Yeah. Because just like British monarchy had to graft themselves on the Moorish Empire to be the British Empire.
Look at all these
You know?
Black Neo and X.
Yeah. Right. And then remember in X-Men at the end, they're unified. So You know, they're letting you know that it's not supposed to be any separation of nothing. You know what I mean? Okay, yeah. I didn't see that. That's at the end. The end of it. I never seen that.
Yeah, you have to wait. You have to wait till the movie the credits
I
are
never
done.
seen that. Oh, after the credits and stuff.
Yeah, you have to
I
wait.
hate when
All
they do that
Marvel?
crap. You know?
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate it. And you really think that it's Asiatic too, huh? Oh, pale guy. I think it's a lady too. Doesn't matter, lady. Looks like a lady.
Blue.
And she's blue. No?
Oh, you mean for the new movie for the Apocalypse?
Oh yeah, that's part
Talking
of
about
that.
that? Yeah, when he's showing Apocalypse, that's Apocalypse.
That's Apocalypse?
Yeah, that's all in blue, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
Apocalypse for real.
Yeah, they show a clip.
For the new,
Yeah. And it's true, you see the pyramids being built and
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
standing
yeah.
up and everybody's worshiping and then pans around and you see,
Yeah.
I was nice with that. I'm like, come on,
Come on. Yeah,
come
no.
on,
Make Apocalypse a European.
European.
Make Apocalypse a
Come
European.
on,
It's not fair. It's
Ah,
not
snake
fair.
eyes.
Alright, Moors. Islam to everybody for coming out. Islam to the Moors online. You already know it'll be uploaded couple of minutes. For everybody here, don't forget January 10th, 2015. We have Skype lecture and a Q&A. The Q&A with brother Seton Rabe. That's going to be here. And Seton Rabe and a Skype lecture with Grand Chief Nature Rabe. And on Sunday, the 11th, we got the Seton Rabe lecture and brother Denham L, who actually has a YouTube page. You know, you can go check out his stuff. Just look up Denham. Denham Hack L on YouTube, or you could just put Denham L. It should come up. Denham L, so you can familiarize yourself with the brother. You can familiarize yourself with him for when he does his Skype for No Joali Day. And also, don't forget, rvbaypublications.com, moorishcivilletter.net, moorishguideposts.org, northgatemoors.webs.com, and moorastrology.com. And, just continue to study, give honors to the Prophet, and we'll definitely get this thing going. But as nothing else, we'll just close out. You can rise and face the east. One on the left, two on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe. Father of love. Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector. My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. To his holy prophet. Noble Ali. Islam. Ashe. Islam, Moors, peace, and Hotep.
I think it was Moses.